Ooh, I just found something really weird here. I don't know if you can see in there, but do you see that there is what looks to be a steel ball in there? Welcome back to Living with a Classic and my 1975 XJ-S. If you're new to the channel and you want to catch up on the previous videos on this car, I made a playlist. There's a link to that down below. You can check that out. Basically, it's been sitting since the 90s somehow and it was restored then. Long story, but check out the previous videos if you're interested. So in the previous video, we stripped out the front brakes. And they're still on the bench. I've cleaned them up and I'm waiting for some parts to put that back together, hoses and a few other things. After that, we're going to drop the rear suspension and that will be a little bit of a bigger job. And after that, we're going to tackle the engine. And I know from experience that there are some sensors and some parts of these engines that take some time to get a hold of if you want to find new ones or used ones. So I thought, you know what, I think let's start just looking at the engine, getting sort of a feel for what sensors work and what don't work so I can find some of them. So I grabbed some coffee, got some warm clothes on. Here, Living with a Classic mug. This is a V12 firing order. I have this both as mugs and t-shirts. You can find it in my store down below. Some good coffee. So we're going to go over the engine and have a look. If you want to know more about D-Jetronic, I've already made a video series, one of the first series on this channel about 2 years ago, where I go in depth on the system, how it works. It's a brilliant fuel injection system, very, very misunderstood, these early ones. So I go how to check everything, set everything, tune everything. So today we're going to look at the map sensor and a few other things, just make sure that they're all right, especially the map sensor, because that one can be difficult to get a hold of. So let's get a vacuum gauge, a multimeter, and a few other things, and have a look. So the big plan for the engine is to do what I call the major service, which you've seen on the channel before on other V12s, where basically you strip everything down to the cam covers and you take the cam covers off as well. So you do that because especially if this thing's been standing for a while, when you start driving it, cam cover gaskets are going to start leaking. So it's a good thing to replace them. And you know, when you have the manifolds off and all of that, because you want to take them off because, well, you're going to replace the fuel injector hoses. That's very important. And when you have all that off, it's really easy to clean out the V in here and have a look at other things, take the distributor out. And yeah, we're going to do quite a bit. Also, these are going to be painted black originally. We're going to have the stickers on them. These are going to be painted black. We're going to polish up the intakes. And I plan on getting these gold zinc plate or whatever it's called when it's sort of like a goldy bronze color. I'm either going to send that off or I'm going to try one of those DIY kits. Haven't really decided about that yet. And then, you know, getting the compressor out of there, we're going to put a modern sanding compressor in there and do a bunch of good things. But these V12s will not run without that sensor down there. On the XJ-S, it's over there, and on the XJ-12, it's up there on the radiator. It's the map sensor. It has a Lucas sticker on it, but it is a Bosch part. And the thing is, they're different for different emissions. So this is a European car. It has this style. Then you have the US style, which has a black plug there in the back. I'll go into more detail on that in the video I've already made about those. But the most important thing is we're going to check continuity on a couple of the windings in here. There's a big plug up here, and then it goes up here and it gets manifold pressure or vacuum. So that's what it stands for, MAP, manifold pressure, and it gets it from both banks and sort of evens it out. So one thing that you can do if you want to know if one of these works, of course, is just take the hose off up here and then suck on that with your mouth. Do not blow into it because it only works on one way. Suck into it and you can put your tongue over that and sort of see if it holds a vacuum. So I can do it right now. And that did hold a vacuum, but ooh, I just found something really weird here. don't know if you can see in there, but do you see that there is what looks to be a steel ball in there? That's what that hard thing is. It's there. That is not supposed to be there. So someone has blanked this off. Can't believe this thing actually ran. Okay, let me go and I'll get a knife. We'll cut this open, see what that is inside, and then we'll do the test again with a vacuum gauge and see if this actually holds any vacuum. All right, let's cut this part off here. It's a very, very weird thing. I can't believe someone would do that, actually. And yep, there's a metal ball in there. We'll cut that open later and have a look at it. But the test is quite simple. Get one of these hand pump vacuum gauges. Make sure it reads in bars. Pump a vacuum of negative 0.5 bar. And then count how long it takes for it to fall to 0.45 bars. And that needs to take more than 10 seconds. That's really the test. So we're going to try and get that on there. See if you guys can see this as well. And we're not building anything at all. Yep, that thing is completely broken. And I can hear the air getting sucked through it. So someone has blocked that off in a probably desperate bid to try and get this thing to run at some point. Very, very strange thing to do. But yeah, definitely need another one of these. If it passes that test, you can test the electrics in. The windings usually never break, but all that is in the video I've already made. So, well, that's one unfortunate thing. A couple other things we can have a look at across the engine, but yeah, that's really the big thing. Okay, I cut this hose apart and see if I can show you what I found inside this little ball. Let's just say I've never seen that before. I can't believe someone's done that. And yeah, that is actually one of the reasons this channel started out, because I had a lot of issues with my XJ-12 when I initially got that years ago, and I found no help anywhere for these early injection systems. No one on forums or anything. Everyone kept just giving me advice for the later systems, which is absolutely useless if you have an early system like this. And I got really frustrated. So the original plan for this whole channel was really just that D-Jetronic series to help people out with these engines so they don't get the wrong information. So once again, don't do that. Don't plug it off, because without that, the ECU has no idea what's going on. D-Jetronic, the D is in German for pressure or Druck, and that's the only thing that this thing can really sense. Yes, it can sense some temperature, but the main thing it relies on is seeing a vacuum or pressure, you know, negative pressure or vacuum, and that's really the main sensor in the system. So blocking that thing off, not very smart. But let's have a look at a few other things. I just want to sort of make a little bit of plan and a budget for what I need for this engine. The other sort of big sort of sensor thing that's important for D-Jetronic is in the throttle pedestal here. Down here, you see there's a big plug there. There is a well, a rod that goes through there, and then there's some metal contacts there, gold-plated contact inside. And when the ignition is on and you move this, you should hear tick, 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 as the injectors fire. Think of that as an accelerator pump on a you know, like a US, like a Holly carb or something like that. Think of it like that. Squirts extra fuel when you accelerate quickly, so it doesn't bog down. They're often not working or disconnected. What they also do is there's an idle setting, so it knows when you're idle, and then it goes into a different map for idle, which you can adjust in the back on the ECU. This one was actually working because when I had the car running with the ignition on, or not running, but ignition on before, I moved this and I heard it ticking. We're going to take it apart anyways when I have all this apart and make sure it's nice inside and lubricated and all that. But that was ticking and working. It was not working on my XJ12 when I got it. Down here is the ballast resistor for the ignition system. Also sends this feed here, the white and blue one, goes to the tach in the car. Tach does work in this car, so that is working. And the tach does actually not work on the XJ12. It stopped working, so I think I'm going to borrow this, actually, put it in XJ12 and see if it's the ballast resistor that's broken over there, because they're pretty expensive. Other than that, it was running, really rich, but we know why. It was running on all cylinders, so that is a good thing. We're going to, of course, do plugs and all of that. Down here is the ignition amplifier for the Opus. It looks to be the original Opus system. And Re-Opus was a thing that was available for a while. I have that on my XJ12. It's not available anymore. So I think I will get the S&G Barrett system, which is a complete new distributor and everything. So it looks like the original part, but has the later CEI ignition in it. Other than that, there are two sensors over there, but I'm not going to test those right now. I made videos on how to test the incoming air temperature sensor and the water temperature sensor. Quite simple, you just ohm them out. But even if they were to be bad, they're so cheap and readily available, so we'll replace them probably anyways. Now we have these, and I'm not even going to test them because from experience with a car staying this long, they're going to be bad. These are the fuel pressure regulators. There's one on each side. They're quite expensive for the D-Jetronic system. They're adjustable, but I'm going to get two new ones. I do have two new ones laying around. So yeah, those we don't even have to check. But I have a video on checking fuel pressure if you want that. But yeah, I think we're going to have to make a little bit of a list. So it's going to be quite a long list, but what I need is, I need new belts, of course. There's 5 of them. I need to have an alternator or have this one rebuilt. I was in touch with a guy locally who actually rebuilds them, so I may send that off to him, or I have a couple spare ones. I'll send one of them off to him, have that rebuilt with new bearings and everything. The radiator looks brand new, so we're keeping that. All hoses, of course, coolant hoses. There's quite a lot in this system, and they're quite expensive, all of them, but you do all of them. We could check out the heater valve, but since we'll have so much off in the engine already, let's replace it, because it's one of those things, it's going to start leaking at some point. It's been sitting in one position for years. It's vacuum operated. We'll replace that. All the fuel hoses, like I said, there's a kit from Mr. Injector. We'll do that. We'll also rebuild the injectors, and we'll build a little test stand to test fire them and get some cleaning solution going through them to clean them out, because I don't want to run this thing anymore. Otherwise, I just put a lot of injector cleaner in the tank, and that really does help out a lot, but we're not going to do that this time. Intake manifold gaskets, cam cover gaskets, half moons in the rear, air filters, but I already have some air filters. I'll show those in a little bit. And luckily the expansion tank looks brand new, so we're going to keep that. We'll check if it's rusty, of course. And then we will also need all vacuum lines like these, replace all of those. And I'm probably forgetting a lot. Yeah, one thing, I can't believe no one has seen this so far. I have on purpose not mentioned it because I wanted someone to mention it. But do you see anything wrong here? Someone has put an ordinary one of these plastic, let's cause a big fire, fuel filters right here. Those are not rated for fuel injection. They are rated for carbs, and you shouldn't even use them on carbs. Use them on your lawnmower, don't use them on your car. And I mean, the pressure coming in right here, coming off from the pump, I believe is about 10 bar. So this is just incredible. There's a mounting point here, as you can see. This is where a big filter is mounted. You've probably seen on my XJ12. Not the greatest location for a filter with heat soak, technically, but I've never actually had any issues. But yep, course we're gonna have to do that, and I'll have to make that bracket. Then back here you have like the crossover pipe, and there are pipes that go under here, and there's a lot of hoses. At least last time I worked or completely sort of rebuilt an early one of these engines, these were hard to get a hold of, so I ended up making my own, measuring them and finding them from other cars and making all of them. So that worked fine, but that takes a little bit, it's a little fiddly, but it works. But I think we've pretty much touched everything that I will need on this engine. Hopefully, of course, we're going to do spark plugs and all of that. But it did run on all cylinders, and these are usually really strong bulletproof engines. So I think we'll do all of that put together, and since we have it that far apart, we will check valve clearances as well. Hopefully they're good, because I really don't feel like taking the camshafts out to adjust them. As you probably know if you've been following along, and also from the intro, this series is sponsored by Simple Performance. I'm really grateful to have them on board as a sponsor, the perfect sponsor for one of these projects, because they love the XJ-S just as much as I do, and they have a lot of good parts. We're doing some performance upgrades on the engine later after we have it on the road, but one thing I want to start with is get some K&N air filters. So you can see them right there. I think these are great. There's many different styles of them. We have some K&Ns on the other XJ-S, but also the round ones, because we have a different sort of intake system on there. But they work great. They flow well, they make a nice sound, and if you take care of them like you're supposed to, they work very, very well. They're supposed to be covered in a special oil so they catch all the dirt, and then when they get dirty, you clean them off and then cover them again, and they're good to go, and you reuse them. Really, really great. So I'm really, really thankful that they sent these over. Of course, you're gonna fit them on the engine when everything else is done. It'll be pretty much the last step. Anyways, I hope you guys liked this video. The idea was just to sort of make a mental list of if and what need to start looking for, what parts. So I think I will, next couple days, start ordering up, or at least making that list, seeing if I need anything else, seeing if everything's in stock, maybe start ordering those things. I have started to order things for the rear suspension and front suspension, so we will move on to the engine after that. And I will need to start looking for a map sensor. A friend of mine texted him, he said he may have one, so I hope he does. Otherwise, if you have any XJ-S parts, especially these early ones, and you have an extra part, you can always email me. My contact's down below. I'm always happy to buy parts for my subscribers. If they have anything that helps the projects out, please let me know. I'm always looking for parts, as you probably understand. Anyways, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up, share it with your friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. And check out the Living with a Classic merch store down below. That also does help the channel out a lot. Until next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.